Hello, this is Adam Bernard with AutoPerspectives, and welcome to this week's News Roundup. We're getting ready for a bunch of new car introductions this week, both production and concept, so we'll be back here with that. But in the meantime, let's see what's been going on in the industry over the past week or so. We will start inside the next generation Mercedes AMG GT four-door coupe, which, yes, is a rather ungainly name. Now, last summer, Mercedes had unveiled the AMG GT XX concept, which was intended to be a precursor to what will now be a fully electric replacement for the current AMG GT four-door coupe. This will use a brand new AMG.EA performance-oriented EV skateboard, and while a full reveal appears imminent, in the meantime, the interior has been shown to us, and so this is the production interior of the vehicle that will hit the market late this year. Like other Mercedes that we've seen of late, it gets multiple displays, but in a slightly more driver-oriented layout. From a control standpoint, it's kind of good news and bad news, and I know every time you see a whole bunch of screens, you worry, where's all the physical switches? There is a small array of switches ahead of the cup holders. There are new console-mounted knobs for performance controls, which I'll get to in a moment, and door-mounted seat controllers. Unfortunately, the climate controls are now back on the screen, which is a little disappointing. The steering wheel includes both rocker and roller switches, so they've gotten away from the pure haptic approach, so that's good news. And the knobs on the center console that you can see here are labeled Response for managing the response of the electric motors, Agility, which manages cornering behavior, and Traction, which pretty self-explanatory. There's plenty of carbon fiber, quilted leather, and red accent lighting, as you might expect in an AMG branded vehicle. And up top, and you can see that in the photo there in the lower right, there was a full-length electrochromic panoramic glass roof split longitudinally into two sections. And at night, you can actually project AMG logos or racing stripes onto the roof. So that's kind of cool. Overall, I confess to be a little disappointed. We saw what Ferrari was able to do with the Luce interior. And while personally that interior doesn't seem like it's appropriate for Ferrari, it did reinvent some things and change some perceptions about what a performance EV interior should look like. And Mercedes does not seem to have done as much here. And if you decide to put a big array of screens across your dashboard, it does limit your design flexibility a bit. So a bit disappointed there. I am looking forward to seeing some of the mechanical specs, including the axial flex motors. So we may have a little wait until those actually appear. Next up, let's talk about the littlest Defender. Last week, I talked a lot about the littlest G, the new baby G class that is expected to be unveiled later this year. And one of the key competitors is the new Land Rover Defender Sport, or whatever it's officially going to be called. We don't know yet. Rumors of a baby Defender surfaced back as far as 6 years ago. And originally, it might have appeared as early as 2021. Obviously, JLR has gone through a number of changes since then. So after a number of delays and rescopes, prototypes are now being photographed on test, and a production launch is expected next year. Again, that baby G, whatever that's called, is going to be a clear target. This is part of JLR's efforts to turn Defender into a brand. Not really sure I buy into that concept, but if you're going to turn Defender into a brand like Range Rover, you do need a family of vehicles. And right now, there's only one Defender with two body styles, so this would be the third Defender entry. This will use the new EMA platform that was originally designed to be multi-energy, but it is now EV only, and it'll debut this year with the next generation Range Rover Velar. We've learned that the underfloor batteries do limit wheel travel and articulation, so it's probably not quite as off-road capable as the current Defender, but it is still targeted to be class leading. Notably, the Defender's brand director said that JLR had put a focus on, quote, maintaining our test cycles. We've seen automakers that are trying to move at Chinese speed. JLR says that rather than try to chase a faster development cycle, they want to focus on making this the best Defender that it can be. And the brand director also hinted that there may be other members of the family coming up. They may be looking into a pickup truck, not unlike the Ineos Grenadier Quartermaster, or something that would slot even below this vehicle and be much more urban oriented, but still, we're told, off-road capable. But in the meantime, we're all anxious to await getting the official details and the official name of the newest entry-level Defender. If we switch over to Vietnam, let's look at VinFast. VinFast has had a troublesome launch in both the US and Europe on a number of fronts in terms of sales and pricing and performance and quality. And so they've decided to refocus their efforts on Asian markets like Indonesia and India. But they have also decided that while they're doing all of that, which frankly it seems like it should be the big focus of their business. They want to expand their Lac Hong ultra luxury brand. Now, this was originally announced last fall without a lot of big hoo-ha, with an armored derivative of the VF9 three-row SUV, but now it's being expanded with the 900S sedan and the 800S SUV. These are both nice looking vehicles. They do both look big and luxurious, maybe kind of a generic luxury car design, but nothing really off-putting there. Bold grills, plenty of chrome accents, traditional proportions, a pretty traditional looking interior as well. You do get a Rolls-Royce style Starlight headliner on the sedan, but there's nothing really new or groundbreaking here, aside from the fact that they are coming out of Vietnam. Both would share a common platform with power doors, a full active suspension system, as VinFast refers to it, and a 617 horsepower tri-motor powertrain. At the moment, no other specs available. Both are expected to roll out sometime next year, and they might only be restricted to the Vietnamese market. We'll have to wait and see until we get more details. Over in China, the juggernaut known as BYD has unveiled its newer flagship SUV. Visually, you could look at another half dozen full-size Chinese branded SUVs and not see anything really different here, which is true. What's more significant is what is under the skin. This vehicle, the Great Tang, showcased several of the items revealed at the March 5th Technology Day from BYD. And most notable is the Blade Battery 2.0, which uses lithium iron phosphate or LFP chemistry, which runs about 2/3 the price of NMC, nickel manganese cobalt, according to Bloomberg NEV. So using this chemistry enables them to hit a 10 to 70% charge in 5 minutes. So you could fill most of this battery up with about the same amount of time it would take you to fill a tank of gas in a conventional vehicle. You get to a full 100% charge in 9 minutes, which is still not too much faster. And even if the temperature gets down to 22 degrees below Fahrenheit, which is where they've tested it, the charging really doesn't slow down too much. So that's a pretty impressive technological achievement. Now, it gets it with a charge rate of 1,500 kilowatts. By comparison, the Porsche Macan Electric charges at about 350 kilowatts, so it's over 4 times faster. To do that, you need a new charging system. Previously, BYD has shown a 1 megawatt or 1,000 kilowatt charger. That was shown about a year ago, supported by 2 500 kilowatt charging cables. So this is really next level stuff. BYD says that 15,000 charging stations to support this vehicle will be added to China by the end of the year. But obviously, that's what you're going to need to take full advantage of that charging capability. The EPA equivalent range, the Great Tang, is about 440 miles, so comparable to, say, the new Cadillac Escalade IQ. You get a rear drive model with 402 or 496 horsepower, or you can upgrade to the all-wheel drive with a pretty impressive 784 horsepower. The electrical architecture is 1,000 volts, so not 800 volts, not 900 volts like the Lucid, but 1,000 volts. And it's loaded with technology, including a built-in refrigerator, a fold-down rear seat display, a rear-wheel steering, the God's Eye B LiDAR-based ADAS, all starting at around $58,000. So overall, BYD has been outdoing Tesla in terms of EV sales this year, continuing to add levels of technology and capability to their portfolio, and the Great Tang is no exception. And look for these other technologies to show up in other BYD EVs as well. And finally, let's play games with Xiaomi. Xiaomi is the Chinese consumer electronics firm that recently decided to get into EVs, and they made a giant splash with the SU7 and then the YU7, the sedan and the SUV. And now they are the first Chinese automaker to participate in the iconic Gran Turismo video racing game. This concept was unveiled at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona last week, and is intended to leverage Xiaomi's 900-volt silicon carbide platform. The target in development was maximum aero performance without additional bolt-on components. It would use carbon ceramic brakes and a reputed 1,900 horsepower power output, although no other details were provided. Now, we don't expect Xiaomi to actually build this vehicle, but they do indicate the aspirations for the brand. Remember, they already sell an SU7 Ultra, which puts out 1,500 horsepower and has been setting records on the Nürburgring. And BYD key competitor already has the $230,000 Yangwang U9 supercar on sale. So the notion of a high-end Chinese supercar is not as out of reach as you think it is. The Barcelona reveal was likely tied to plans to expand the brand in Europe next year. There's already an R&D center in Munich that is up and running. So again, don't expect this particular high-performance vehicle to be in showrooms anytime soon, but definitely don't count Xiaomi out of the high-performance EV game. And that about wraps things up for this week in Auto Perspectives. Thanks for listening. If you like what you see and hear, please subscribe and share. If you visit AutoPerspectives.net, you can check out the blog. Also, feel free to look me up on LinkedIn. And in the meantime, I will see you back here in 7 days with more news. Thanks for listening.